What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Free Lady Co. show, podcast, whatever you want to call it. I like to call it a show sometimes because it is. You're listening to us talk about life and the life of freedom and how we got to a place of loving ourselves. And this is a safe space. I share this platform with anybody who wants to share their story of how they got to where they are today through the journey of loving themselves and finding that passion of like-minded people, of transferring that passion into helping others. And that's why we're here. We're absolutely here. So I am very excited to introduce you to Juile Kennedy. If you guys remember, a couple weeks ago, her husband Travis Kennedy was on the show, and it was like such an amazing podcast. It was actually one of my favorites. And I think I probably say that about everything, but when you talk to people, it's just, you get so raw, realistic and real with people. And it's a beautiful thing to have this platform. If anything, that I get to receive this great, conversation with somebody, that's my favorite. It's like I'm hanging out on my Thursday nights with people that I care about, or I get to meet. So Julie, thanks for coming on the show. How are you?
Of course, I'm amazing.
That's amazing.
How are you doing?
I'm doing amazing too. You know what I mean? I'm really enjoying this weather here in Utah for August. It's usually in the hundreds, and it's been, 80 to 90 with storm clouds. It's really cool.
Speaking of storm, we're supposed to have a hurricane.
Oh, where are you
We're
guys
in San
at?
Diego.
Oh, in San Diego. Oh, God.
Alpine area, East County, and everyone's panicking. But really, I don't believe any of the weather, honestly.
Not in California,
They'll
but
say it's a hurricane and we'll get little sprinkles. But at this point, I'm here for the show.
Right. Well, and speaking of, hurricane and California, everyone just take a moment of silence for Maui, Hawaii right now.
Yeah.
Just what a devastating loss. I have people that live there that I know or have homes there, and it's just so tragic. And so please send your love energetically to the, family and friends of Maui, Hawaii, and just honor their spirits. Because I know that started from a hurricane and caused the fires, and who knows, people I've talked to, how the fires started everywhere. Some people think it's pyro, and I'm like, oh my gosh, please God, that hopefully that's not it. And if it is, karma's a bitch, and I hope they get caught.
Right.
So, yeah. So maybe that same hurricane is going everywhere. Who knows? But the weather is definitely interesting in today's, chapter of our lives. I can't even explain what weather is anymore. I don't think anybody can, but
don't even get me started with weather.
Right. I was in Colorado, you never knew what that weather was going to be. And Utah's kind of the same way. And, but at the end of the day, I'm just thankful that I'm okay and you're okay. And I just have to pray for the loss of Maui, Hawaii, because that is just it's tragic.
It is terrible.
Julie, tell us, who are you and what do you do?
So I am a personal trainer and an integrative health practitioner, and a mom, a wife. I love my animals. And I just help women honor their body in every phase of their cycle. And it all started with, I became a personal trainer because I loved working out. So why not make that my job, right?
Right.
And now with my clients, I only work with women. And of course, they come to me and they want to lose weight. And a lot of times, calories in versus calories out doesn't always work. And we got to dive a little bit deeper. So I kind of I'm a very different type of personal trainer. I look at a deeper level, like cellular level, let's figure out what's going on and why you can't seem to lose this stubborn weight.
Right.
Most of the time it's toxicity, it's, gut issues, it's stress, it's trauma, the list goes on. So we just kind of like start to uncover, and I give my clients, I tell them I'll walk with them, I'll run with them. And I love my clients so much.
Yeah, I get that.
because I've been there,
Mhm.
and it, and to have someone to be able to hold your hand through the process of healing your body and knowing that you're doing it out of self-love and not, you're not going and doing crazy workouts because you hate yourself or because you think you're fat
Right.
or it's out of punishment. It's,
Right.
I changed that mindset, and it's more out of just genuinely loving their body
Yeah.
and loving their body in every season that they're in. And
Mhm.
I feel like these days we live in a world of women have to be stick figures and have abs and all these like muscles and whatever. And it, but that's
Right.
not the body at the healthiest form. I
Right.
can promise you that. All those girls that have like six packs and crazy, 10% body fat, they're not healthy at a cellular level. They're not healthy on an internal level.
Interesting.
And they're overworking out and under eating. And so
Right.
I was there. I mean, I was that girl. Um, so I'll just, dive into the beginning.
Yeah, let's hear it, girl. I'm all for it. And you're so right. Like, I mean, I always like well now I used to hate my body. I body shamed myself for so long, but that's because I was body shamed from family members,
Mhm.
and so and it's just a horrible thing when someone tells you, well, you're never going to get what you want unless you're skinny. And I'm like, what is skinny? What
Yeah,
is that? Like, our bodies are made from God, and there is a very much an unhealthy level that you can get to. And a lot of
100%.
Americans are. Um, but at the same time, I feel like, with myself, like I train very, very hard, but I have gotten to a point where like I train for an hour, like, or hour and 15 minutes, 5 days a week. And then maybe I'll go hike and stuff like that. And I used to just like, oh my gosh, if I don't work out this day, I'm going to be fat. If I don't, eat a certain way, I'm going to be fat. And I was just reading something this morning about like, what is that energy that you're attracting, right? The universe has,
Yes.
we're all made of energy, and there's no time, like Albert Einstein would say, there's no
Mhm.
time. So if you are putting out in the universe, like, man, if I smell that donut, I'm going to gain 5 pounds. That's what I say all the time because it's like a kind of joke. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's like, you probably will gain 5 pounds smelling a donut because you're attracting that energy into your body at a cellular level. And so I
Mhm.
just love that you think that way, and you sought out those things, because it's really important to get to a place as women, as men as well, to look at your body in the mirror and be like, damn girl, like you're
Yeah.
sexy. Like I love the way I look. You know what I mean? Like I have stubborn belly fat. I've had that for my whole life. You know what I mean? And so
Yeah.
it's like, it is what it is. Would I love to have like a 4 pack? Oh yeah.
I will
Absolutely.
take a 4 pack.
I'll take a four
Oh.
pack, you know what I mean? Or a 2 pack, whatever that is. I don't even know what that is, but like, just to say like I didn't, but it's to the point for me where I have to be strict 24/7. And that's not a way
That's
to
not
live.
reality though.
It's
And
not. It's
and
not.
it's always all about, it's about balance. And that's
Right.
what I teach my clients is love your body in each season that you're in. It's actually, I was just talking to my client about this right now and or today. And she's in this phase of, I want to look this way. I want to look this way. I want to lose this weight. I want to lose this weight. And I'm like, while you're working towards that goal,
Mm,
give your body the grace, because if we're
mm,
constantly stressing about this big goal, right? And it's always
right.
have to lose all this weight, you're just telling yourself like you're not enough. You're
Mm,
not beautiful in the state you're in. And so that's the message you're telling yourself because you constantly are trying to get to this goal that is maybe impossible, right?
right.
And to learn to love yourself in each season that you're in, especially when you are putting in the work every day to get there. And my motto to all my clients is something's better than nothing. And I mean, that's my motto to myself,
Yeah.
like there's days where I am a blob and I don't want to get out of bed, but I do a 20-minute walk and I'm like, you know what? That was better than nothing. And that's all I had. So I'm going
Right.
to celebrate that and I'm going to be proud of that,
Hell yeah.
and it's such a mindset shift because
Hmm.
everyone wants to come to a personal trainer all of a sudden have to go on this crazy diet, and they expect that. And
Yeah.
90% of my clients, I'm like, no, you need to eat more. And
Right.
you need to do more strength training, less cardio, stop doing the HIIT workouts. I flipped the script on them. And they're like, what?
Yeah.
And I'm like, your life is probably going to get a lot easier, less
Yes.
stress, and
Yeah.
you'll lose weight.
Yeah.
And it'll
Voila.
be great. Yeah, it's magic. But I had to learn that myself to get to this point, to be able to teach my clients this, because I was that girl. I was overworking out. I was under eating. I hated myself, and I feel so bad for the younger version of myself. I give her love all the time. Like, I apologize to her, I'm like, I love you, and I am so sorry that I treated you with so much disrespect. But I got here because I was raped when I was 13. And so that was a big, like, shift in just how I saw myself. After that, I felt like I wasn't worthy. I felt like I was out of control. Like, I had no control over my life. Like, he stole a piece of my innocence that's how I lost my virginity.
Oh my God, Julie.
Yeah, it was terrible. And so I lived with that. I didn't tell anybody for a whole year. It was a secret. And then I went to the doctor when I was 14, to get your, like, you start your period, you have to get a pap or whatever. And they were like, have you ever had intercourse? And I was like, well, not willingly. And she's like, what? And I didn't even think of it that way. Like, I didn't want to put that word to it, right? I didn't want to label it. And I didn't want to label myself as a rape victim.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And she said that, and she's like, wait, I don't want to tell your mom. My mom was a nurse, and she worked in that same office. And she's like, I don't have to tell your mother this, but I think it's important that we talk about this. And I was like, okay, you can tell her. I just haven't told her. And this was a year later.
Yeah.
So I told my mom, and then it was like, oh, do you want to go to therapy? Do you want to go to counseling? And I was like, no, I'm good. I'm 14 years old. I'm like, oh, we swept that under the rug. We let that go. Really, we didn't. I didn't. I lived with it. Exactly. 100% Band-Aid. And my Band-Aid was eating disorders.
Holy shit.
Because I didn't have any love for myself. And every time I looked in the mirror, I hated the person I saw. At 14, it started. And it was wild. The things that I would do, like in the morning before I took a shower, my hip bones had to touch the wall. Like, I would stand with my feet against the wall. My hip bones had to touch the wall. If my stomach touched before my hip bones, I wouldn't eat that day. I wouldn't eat for a week. Yeah. Like, the weirdest things that I would do. And I'm like, oh my God. And then it would be like a game.
It's neurotic. Yeah. I was going to say neurotic, like game playing that you have to do. It's kind of like one of those things. If like you rub one side of your arm, you're like, oh shit, I got to rub the other one. You know what I mean? It's like it's a weird mental thing that you play, like this game that you play.
And I went deep into it. And then, God, I don't even know. I was probably anorexic and my family didn't even, they knew, but my sister was, into drugs. So my whole family was focused on my sister.
Okay.
And I was kind of like the kid in the corner that they were like, oh, she's good. She's good. She's good. Like, everything's fine. I didn't make a noise. It was just, my sister was the squeaky wheel.
Yeah.
And I was like the quiet one.
Yeah.
So I kind of got away with a lot. And I just went down a spiral. So I was probably anorexic, and I would drink, this is terrible. I would drink a glass of orange juice and eat a piece of toast with peanut butter to go to the gym, to work out for 3 hours.
Holy shit.
And then I would go home and pass out on the couch, because if I ate, then I would feel like I just erased that whole workout I would do. So,
which is completely opposite, right?
Totally. Like, totally, don't ever do that.
Yeah. Like, you have to eat. There's a 45 freaking minute window that you put that fuel back into your muscles to burn fat as the day goes on. I hope I'm
Yeah.
saying that right, but that's what I've been taught by nutritionists and trainers and throughout the years. And so
Yeah.
we're
And you have
just
to
like
nourish,
your body.
refuel your body.
Yeah,
And I
man.
wasn't. And so
Dang.
I would pass
Dang.
out, fall asleep. My mom was working 2 jobs. So I was like
Right.
on my own. Like it was from 14 to probably, I don't even know, 19.
Right.
And I was in and out of anorexic, and then I became bulimic because I had to eat because then my mom caught on. So then I
Right.
became bulimic. So then I would eat a ton, and then I would go take a shower, and I
Mm.
would throw up in the shower so no one would know.
Wow.
And so long story short, my sister caught on. She told my mom, and it was this whole thing. And it was like, if you don't eat, I'm gonna take you to the hospital, blah, blah, blah. So
Right. Right.
then I turned that into, it. So I stopped the eating disorders. I really dove into learning how to fuel my body and eat. And so
Right.
then I turned, like, it's almost like an addiction, right? You stop one addiction and then you go into another addiction.
Yeah.
It's just that human behavior, whether it's alcoholism or whatever it is, like you can cure one, but if you don't cure the true
Yes.
like issue,
Yeah.
the addiction's just going to roll over into something else
Right.
that's going to look healthier, right? And
Right.
so
Right.
my addiction went into overworking out
Right.
and under eating and obsessively tracking my macros and needing to have 10 to 15% body fat. And I became a personal trainer because, I mean, why not? Everyone wanted to look like me. I knew what I was
Sure.
doing.
Sure.
I walked the walk. I was my own business card. So I was like, sure, let's go be a personal trainer.
Yeah.
So I ended up being a personal trainer, and I was like, count your macros. And I was very much, let's obviously eat, don't starve yourself. But let's, it was like obsessive, like tracking your macros. And don't get me wrong, it's good knowledge to have. But when you
For
use it
sure.
in an abusive way,
For
I
sure.
think everything it's like too much of a good thing is a bad thing, right?
Right. Right. Exactly.
So then I turned it into a healthy habit, right? And I was working out 2 to 3 times a day. I was doing CrossFit workouts. I was doing HIIT
Oh my
workouts.
God.
I was tracking my macros. I was eating maybe 20 carbs a day, but I was like, I'm getting my protein in. And it was wild, girl, like wild. And
I
I
can't even
couldn't,
imagine. I can't even
it was,
imagine because there was a point where I just wanted to because I did CrossFit for 15 years and there was a point where I got so obsessed and addicted, that I needed to be tiny, you know what I mean? But like still be strong. And like I lived off like pre-workout, like I used to
yeah.
drink No Explode like it was water, you know what I mean? That shit is so
Mhm.
bad for you. But it was the only thing that like got my energy up to be successful. But at the same time, I was like, why can't I move as well? Like all these things. And I was like, oh my God, I look back and I was like, if I knew that at that moment, if I ate enough, like I would have had, a pretty rockin' body because
Yeah.
without eating enough, so I did get down to like 165 pounds. I'm 5'8". And there was one point where a friend was like, you shouldn't lose any more weight, but I still
Yeah.
had belly fat. I still had that belly fat. And I'm like, why is that? But
Cortisol.
absolutely, absolutely. Because you're
Cortisol.
stressed out. You're so stressed out from, trying to like slim down or pay attention to paleo diets, like I was
Yeah.
super into paleo, but I wasn't tracking like what I was actually putting in my body. I'm like, oh, this is paleo. Okay.
Yeah.
I would sit there and snack on like carrots, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And you're just like, I mean, yeah, it's healthier than fucking sitting there eating bonbons and shit, but it's like,
But it's still disordered. Like
it
it's still a
is
disordered eating, and
for sure.
it's still it doesn't come from a place of self-love. And I feel
Right.
like that's my frustration with the whole fitness industry is
Right.
these girls that are overworking out and under eating, and they're thinking that it's because they love themselves and all that stuff. And it's
Right.
like, no, let's find what your body looks like at the healthiest version of yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And what got me to stop all of that is, and how I got to here, I ended up having really bad ovarian cysts.
Oh shit.
And one day it was terrible. I thought I was dying. My husband took me to the emergency room. I was like, whatever this pain is, like, I'm pretty sure my insides are falling out. And I had a cyst that was rupturing. And I ended up in the emergency room. Of course, they're like, here's some pain meds and go home, because there's nothing they could do. So I was battling with that. And they're like, you have PCOS, but you don't fit in the box of PCOS because you're not overweight. You don't have this. You know, it was weird. It was wild.
Right.
So I was battling constant painful ovarian cyst ruptures over and over again.
Oh
it was month after month. Like every time I'd ovulate, I would have an ovarian cyst rupture. Girl, by this time I'm like, I am having an unmedicated birth, because I'm pretty sure I feel like I can handle that, because I would know they were coming and I would just lay on the bed and do a castor oil pack and just breathe through them. And my husband would sometimes have to like take time off of work and be like, are you good? I'm like, wait until it passes and then I'll be good. Just sit here. Just let me breathe through this. And so pain tolerance was wild. I had crazy periods.
Right.
My health really started to dwindle. And all that happened around my brother dying. So my brother died, and it was like, you know, just stress. You're stressing like over and over and over. Like compiling the stress. So my brother died. Well, my mother-in-law died, tragic accident, which my husband shared.
Yes.
And then 2 years later, after we're dealing with all of that stuff, my brother passed away.
Wow.
And he was 21.
Oh
and
my God.
It was from fentanyl.
Oh my
And
God.
yeah, he took a Xanax, and it was laced with fentanyl. So he just took it, went to sleep, and he just never woke up.
Oh my God, Julie.
Yeah. And so right after that, my body just went into a place of like, we're done.
Yeah.
Like, it's almost like my body just like flatlined. Like I kind of just, my health just went to crap with ovarian cysts. And then they told me I have a tumor on my ovary and I had to have surgery. And I was like, I'm not having surgery. They're like, birth control. I was like, not going on birth control. Like, I'm not doing it.
Right.
And they kept gaslighting me. I saw probably 4 OBs. They all said the same thing. They all told me that if I don't have this surgery, it's life-threatening. You could die. Why are you doing this? This whole thing. And I just heard God in my heart be like, you can heal this. Follow my guidance and you can heal this. And I was like, okay, I don't know what I'm doing, but I dove in, girl. And this was like end of 2019 and then going into 2020. So then the gym shut down. You know, I couldn't work out. I couldn't.
Oh man, I gained a lot of weight that year.
Girl, right? Like I literally
holy crap,
went into a spiral because I didn't have my outlet. Right. I didn't have my
right.
I didn't have that thing.
Yeah.
I didn't have my vice. Right. So 2020, I had to sit with myself. Let me tell you, it was a blessing in disguise.
It was
hard.
Yeah.
But it was the biggest blessing. And I had to sit with so much stuff that I had to release. And I started doing inner child work. I started to really heal my womb. Yeah. Because we hold so much in our womb and it's energetic. Like you said, it's all energy. Right. And I was holding in so much hurt. I was holding in so much pain, so much rejection, so much shame, so much guilt. Like, the list goes on. Like our womb, I call it the energetic junk drawer because it's where women like to store a lot of emotions. And so I had to do a lot of womb work. And so a lot of times, a lot of my clients come to me with PCOS or endometriosis or any of those symptoms. And I'm like, okay, let's dive into emotions and trauma. And 90% of the time there is, some stuck emotions in their womb that we have to just allow our body to feel and release. And so that's what I did. I just sat with myself and I was inner child work. I was able to like connect with my inner child. And I had this Sorry, I'm like totally blabbling, but
No, I love this. I love this. Talk
so
about it. Talk about it.
I was in a meditation and I was having a really bad episode of an ovarian cyst. Like I was like,
Right.
okay, here we are. I was in so much pain. And I did my castor oil pack and I was laying there and I was in a meditation. And in that meditation, I connected with my 13-year-old inner child
Wow.
when she was raped.
Holy shit, dude.
And I started uncontrollably crying, but it was a weird outer body experience. So where like I was holding her because she just felt so rejected, so neglected, so hurt. And I felt so guilty for ignoring her. Right. So like my inner child still living in me, holding on to all of these feelings, wanting to be seen, wanting to be heard. And I'm like, no, girl, like that was the past. Like we don't have time to unpack that.
Right.
And she's like,
Right.
hey, look at me. Hey, look at me. And that, I mean, my inner child was running the show for literally my whole life because I always wanted to be seen. I always needed the attention, whether it was good or bad. I wanted the attention.
Right.
And so I was just bawling, crying, sitting there in this meditation, just like hugging her. And I kid you not, this is when it all clicked. My pain went away. Like in an instant, my whole body was pain-free.
Wow.
And I was like, what just happened?
Wow.
What just happened?
Right.
And so then, of course, that led me down a rabbit hole of emotions and trauma and, you know, how the pain body and how your body holds on to emotions and creates blocked energy and all this stuff. So I started reading a book called Emotion Codes. Really interesting if you're into that. It explains where certain emotions get held in different organs and can create like stagnicity. And so, I mean,
I'm like, this is amazing. I'm like from all this. This is like the intuitive goddess in you that you found. Like, just keep going. This is amazing.
Yeah. So I connected the dots of, okay, so there's connection between emotion and pain. And the emotions that were stored in my womb, you know, were the guilt, the shame, the fear, you know, all of those emotions with being raped, needing to control, all of that. So I was able to start feeling my emotions because I was queen of, let's bottle it up. I'm strong. I'm a rock. I got this, you know, don't worry about me. Like it was just how I lived my life. I didn't, you know, my parents never really showed me how to express emotions. Right. And I was always considered the emotional one in every scenario of my life. Relationships, like my family, every relationship, I was the emotional one. And so I would hold it in. I wouldn't cry. Yeah. I would show like, I would be stone faced. Like it was not, I was like, oh, I'm fine. And until that moment. And I released it and I was like, wow. So then of course I was like, emotions have such a deeper pull on our overall health. Yeah. And then I dove into, because my brother passed away and I literally, I'm not kidding you, it took me over a year and a half to grieve my brother because I tucked it away and was like, I'm fine. And even my husband's like, okay, when are you going to snap? Like, are you good? Are you good? I was like, yeah, I'm good.
Yeah,
like,
I remember. Literally, Travis said that in the podcast. He was like, when is she going to snap? You know what I mean? And it's interesting that like, well, he obviously knew you that well. And thank God he knew how to support you in that way, you know, because, you know, we hold on to things that we don't even understand because our masculine energy takes over. Yeah. Right. And, you know, the feeling of like always wanting to be loved because your sister was probably getting all that attention when you had an addiction, but just drugs are like, oh my God, you know, like drugs, you know, it's just, it's seen so differently to a human eye than an addiction that you can hide, you know? And so it's just amazing that like the beautiful thing about this already is that like God wanted you to know that you were his child, that
Mhm.
he wanted you to be something that you always were going to become today. And that's such a beautiful thing when we can tap into meditations like that and
Mhm.
understand that the universe and God is always listening and always there if we are truly listening to
Yeah.
what we need to go through, because we can box all of our things up in emotion, especially as well, actually men and women, men and women box things up so differently and they act out so differently. But
Mhm.
as a woman, as feeling like a black sheep, you know what I mean? You're like, I'm fine, I'm
Yeah.
strong, like I'm totally fine.
I mean,
And
I even had a hard time. Sorry, I even had a hard time with my husband, like
yeah,
in our relationship, in our marriage, of like
right,
taking off that shield, of that masculine
right.
energy, because I was always trying to protect myself. I was
Mhm.
always in this place of
Mhm.
just, it was me, myself, and I needed to protect myself. I can do it. I'm fine. Don't worry about me. And it took a lot to break that down. And I,
Yeah.
with my brother passing away, like my sister dove deeper into drugs, and my dad, like, I don't even know what happened to him. He went off the deep end. And I didn't have my family for like probably a year and a half. I
Wow.
like completely severed contacts with my sister. So I was like grieving my whole family at this point.
Right.
And like I'm trying to heal my body, but then I'm also working through family stuff. And then I just start like diving, I just start digging, because I'm definitely like, I'm definitely that person that wants to know the why and
Right.
how. I don't
Right.
want a doctor just to be like, oh, this is how you're gonna just live the rest of your life, take this pill, live on. Like, I'm just not
No,
that person. I'm
same,
like,
same.
I want to know how, I don't want to know why, I want to know what's going on at a cellular level. Like, that's just who I am. So
Absolutely.
I dove down the rabbit hole of just healing my body naturally, and that drove me to going back to school. I became an integrative health practitioner, so I can understand the body at a cellular level and what's truly going on. But then also, like, just I also got my implants taken out, so I got an explant,
Yeah.
and that was a day and night shift.
Rip. Yep.
Oh
Yep.
my god! Like,
Yep.
I think my body was like, okay, we're done. Like,
Yeah.
enough is enough.
Right.
And it was more like my nervous system kind of got like to the point of overload, and my body started to break down, and I just started healing my body one step at a time. And I would tell people this, and they're like, yeah, you're crazy. Like, what?
Oh, of
A
course.
castor oil pack is going to heal you? And I'm like, yeah. Like,
Yeah.
I changed my water, I got filters on my shower. Like, I mean, don't get me wrong, I may have gone a little to the extreme,
But how would
but
you
I
know
was,
if you didn't try it?
exactly. And I
How
was
can
like,
you
I
teach your
have to
clients
try
if you didn't try
things.
it? Yeah.
Exactly. So I kind of used myself as a guinea pig to be like, okay, let's see if this works. Let's see if this works.
Absolutely.
And I went back a year later. So I had a 4 centimeter tumor on
Wow.
my left ovary. And I went back a year later, and it went down to, I think, 1 centimeter. Yeah. And the doctors,
Wow.
and of course, the doctors are like,
How'd you
uh,
do that?
they didn't even ask. I asked, I was like, do you want to know how I did it? Because they're like, keep doing what you're doing because it shrunk. And I
Mm,
was like, do you want to know how? And she's like, no, it's not scientifically proven.
of
I was
course.
like, well, I am the science project.
Yes.
Like, you
Yes.
know? And so then that's when I went into, just learning how to honor my body in my menstrual cycle.
Mm,
Because women, do we even know we have phases in our menstrual cycle? I
mm.
didn't until like 3 years ago, until started trying to get pregnant. And I'm like, oh, I need to figure out like
Right.
how this all
Right.
works, because there's only a
Right.
few days you can really conceive.
Right. Right.
And so then I went down that rabbit hole, and I learned I I eat for my cycle now in each phase of my cycle.
Right.
I work out according to my cycle, and this is what I
Right.
teach all of my clients when I tell them to track their cycle, and we work out according to their phases of their cycle.
Right.
I try my best to schedule my work around my cycle, but that, we can only do our best at that one.
Right.
I'm like, I would really like to
I
lay in bed
wish.
on day one of my period, but let's be real
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I was able to completely heal my body. I don't have any more cysts or tumors. I mean, don't get me wrong. I feel like we're always working through something,
For sure.
right? Like
For sure.
emotions or trauma. I mean, we've all been through it, but
For
it's
sure.
also the ability to allow us as humans, ourself,
Mm-hmm.
to feel an emotion when it comes up. And that's the thing that a lot of people are scared of. They're scared to feel the emotion. But the truth is if you feel it and allow it to flow through your body, because emotions are energy in motion.
Right. Right.
That is what an
Yes.
emotion is. If you
Yes.
do not let the energy flow through your body,
Right.
the emotion flow through your body, you're going to hold on to it.
Yeah.
And it's going to create sickness eventually. It will breed sickness.
Right.
And that is like something so near and dear to my heart when it comes to emotions,
Yeah.
because I mean, I am the most emotional person you will ever meet. I cry when I'm happy, I cry when I'm sad, I cry when I'm
Yeah.
scared. Like
Yeah. I love
tears
that.
are always coming out of my face. My husband's like, "You're crying again?" And I'm like, "Yeah, just ignore me at this point. Like,
Yeah.
don't even worry
That's
about
like
it."
my friend Ann Travis, who Scott and Ann
Oh
Travis.
yeah.
She cries all the time, like in an instant. And I just love it. Like I just love that about her because she lets that emotion come through her and it's beautiful, it's really, really beautiful.
And it's just truly allowing your body to, and it really comes down to also like allowing your body to feel safe
Right.
so you can feel that emotion. And
Right.
for the longest time, my body was feeling very unsafe because I wasn't loving it. I didn't have a loving partner. I didn't have a safe place and I wasn't nourished. So a lot of times people don't understand is sometimes your body will not allow you to feel an emotion because it doesn't have the nutrients it needs to
Right.
even process that emotion.
Interesting. Interesting.
So a lot of times we're malnourished, which is why we feel numb or we can't express an emotion because our body physically doesn't have the nutrients and the energy to allow that emotion to flow through our body.
Yeah.
So that's another thing we always want to look at, with people that have those suppressed emotions or
Right.
deeper healing to do. It's like let's get your body in a safe place so your nervous system isn't on overdrive and you're not constantly feeling like you're running from a bear. So when your body
Right.
is safe, fueled, rested, in a safe place, then we can go to the emotional aspect and we can release those emotions and allow your body to feel them. And 90% of the time the emotion that comes out is anger,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
that's the first emotion, that's the easiest emotion to release.
Yes.
And then once you get under anger, you're like, oh, I feel rejected. Oh, I feel,
Right.
fear or whatever it may be.
Right.
It's
Right.
just like peeling back an onion.
It really is because anger is like you said, like, I mean, I get angry so fast, like, especially with, a new chapter of my life of like starting over, building my clientele and not being able to do whatever I wanted to do, like I was doing before, while saving up for a house and all these things. And I just get, when I get angry, like this,
Mm-hmm.
just a recent realization, for myself is like, oh, it's because I can't just go and do whatever I want right now. You know what I mean? And that's okay. I will get there again.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just like this weird thing your mind plays on you. But if you are able to sit with yourself, like that's the thing about emotion, man, is like sitting with yourself and understanding where that comes from and letting the ego go. Because even when you realize it, you're like, do I actually want to admit that?
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? Or I'm just
Yeah.
going to continue to, okay, I know that about myself. I'm going to change that about myself. I'm going to keep it to myself. Like, but it's the fact of you learning how to let it go with your partner is like truly the beautiful thing. And I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I have a hard time with that. You know what I mean? Because my life is, kind of backwards right now from where it
Mhm.
was, but that's where we grow and we learn the most. You know what I mean? And so it's just really good for everyone to, if you guys really listen to this, like sit with your emotions, like let them come
Mhm.
out, because you will figure out when you sit with that, where the root of the problem is.
Yes.
Because we can continue to be angry, and where does that go? Like it just comes into a yelling match with yourself. You can be physically abusive to yourself or the things
Mhm.
around you, the people around you. You just cause more pain, which causes you more pain. And then it's like this vicious cycle because
Yeah.
you want to fucking sit with it and find the root of the fucking problem.
And it really comes down to like stop being scared. Like
Yeah.
stop allowing that fear of feeling to take over and
Right.
prevent you from sitting with yourself. And I promise you, you sit with yourself, you'll have whatever emotions come through, and you will be a brand new person in probably 20 minutes instead of holding this
Mhm.
on or holding
Mhm.
this in and then like carrying this around for years or
Yeah,
your whole life potentially, and
absolutely.
it's something that I feel like we don't talk about enough, and it can truly heal your body. It's one of the root causes of chronic illness is
Yeah.
emotions. And that's what we go
Mhm.
through even when I went back to school. It was like
Right.
emotions was like a whole module, like a whole month
Right.
of emotions. And I'm like, oh,
That's
so this
cool
is
though.
real.
That's cool. That's so cool.
Yeah.
That's so interesting. It's just like, you look at the people in your life that, you want to be close to, but you can't
Hmm.
because they're not working out through their emotions. They're masking it. And I talked to somebody today, that, was in my chair, for example, and, she was like, so just like so scared and all these things. And, she told me about the journey of her being on medications and stuff like that. And because the people that love her say that they don't want to be around her if she's not on medication. Now, I don't know how far that goes, but her in my chair, she was beautiful. And I was like, okay, God, like, this is crazy. This is so sad. She's like in her
Yeah.
young 20s. And it's like, I looked at her into her eyes and I was just like, do you know that you're the only one like you on this whole earth? That you are
Yeah.
unique to you. And it's okay to be on medication for now. But if that medication helps you see what you need to work on, because she was talking about all these things that she needs to work on. And I'm like, I didn't even know that in my early 20s. I didn't
Yeah.
understand that, I was just being masculine, protecting myself and like broing it up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And for real,
Yeah.
for real. That's why I
Same.
had so many guy friends, like, and I was just like, you are so beautiful because you are you. And if people don't like that who you are, like fuck those fucking people. You know what I mean? Like
100%.
100%. And if you can't look at yourself in the mirror every day and tell that person that you love that person,
Yeah.
then you need to do some more work. You know what I mean? And even if you have to say that in the mirror every day and you don't believe it, eventually you will, because it's consistency and, letting that energy like pass through you, and just because energy is like, it's so powerful. And, there are times when, I forget that. And I've been reading all these like books recently about, energy. And I'm just like, that's right. I mean, I feel energy so much with people.
Hmm. Yeah.
So much. Like I can get tense sometimes or emotional because of, picking up that energy. And like energy is healing.
Yeah.
Like exactly what you're saying, that emotions through energy are healing. And it's just, people don't know that.
Yeah.
Like, I don't even know much about it like you do. You know what I mean? But I know it's real. I know it's
It's
there,
yeah. And
you
it's so
know?
real. And I feel like, because I'm very empathic and I'm very intuitive, and
Same,
I
same.
instantly can like connect with people right away
Right,
or put a shield up, right?
right.
Um, but I used to not understand that. And I used to allow people to truly affect me. And like, I couldn't go over to my mom's house for a long time because their energy was so much. And I didn't understand how to put that boundary. And it's a self boundary, right? Like, it's just, I just
Yes.
say a prayer and I'm just like, please God, just like keep me grounded, keep me clear. And like, don't let me take on any of their emotions and don't let them dump on me. And from there, I was able to understand, like, I have the control of who I allow energetically to penetrate my bubble or not to.
Right.
And it took me a really long time to understand that too, because there was times where I'm
Right.
like, I physically can't go out into the world. Like,
Yeah.
people like suck the life out of me. And I had to learn how to put boundaries up, like
Mhm.
energetic little like shields up to keep other people's energy from like wearing off on me. Because I mean, I do see people all day every day, like like you, like
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
personal trainer,
Yeah.
hairstylist, like we're kind of like
Yeah.
therapists, right?
Oh yeah.
So if we allow ourselves, we're just going to keep taking on and taking on and piling on, and by the end of the day we have nothing left for ourselves. And so
Right.
putting a little bubble, like I literally envision myself in a little bubble
Mhm.
when I'm with my clients, and I'm like, this is my energy and you're not going to be able to penetrate it. I'm not taking on your emotions. I'm not
Yeah.
taking on anything. Like,
Right.
I'm going to stand strong in my energy. And it makes a big
It
difference.
it really does.
Yeah.
It really does. I started doing that a couple years ago. And, sometimes I forget to visualize it, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
But when I started doing that, it is a boundary. It's an energy boundary. It's a self boundary. But when you do that, it's just like this automatic wave of energy that people can't enter. People can't take your
Yeah.
power, but they can hear your power. You know what I mean? They can
Yeah.
hear, what you have to say and gravitate to the energy that you're giving, but not having them take it
And they
away
can't like
from you.
suck it out of you.
It's a real thing. You guys might think we're fucking hippies right now, but like, if you really understand, and I will have to say, I've been meditating for, I don't know, years, years. And I just, because of Sean, starting, the Om meditation. I've never done that Om meditation
Hmm.
before. Holy shit, dude. Like, that energy is wild. Like, the Om meditation, like, is life changing. You can feel like on a cellular
Vibration.
the vibration inside your body, and that you're just like, the energy is so much more real than you think,
Yeah.
and it's
And
healing.
I mean, we're made out of energy.
Right.
Everything is made out of energy. And we think that we are in control, but we're not.
Hmm.
And that is where I feel like definitely in this season of full surrender, and whatever God's plan is God's plan, because he hasn't failed me yet. And
Me too, girl.
I'm,
Me
you
too.
know, I got into a place of needing to control. I mean, I healed my own body, for God's sake, right? So like, I felt like I had to
Amazing.
control everything because I was like, oh, I did this, I did this. And it was like, me. And I'm like, wait, God did this. Like,
Yeah.
God guided me. God is the one that has been carrying me through this process. He's the one that's been, I mean, if it wasn't for him, like, I prayed for 2 years for an explant because I couldn't afford it. And it was just, I knew these toxins were in me, and he guided me to the doctor. Like, God was the one that carried me through this process. And so I just had this
Beautiful.
realization of, I am fully allowing God to take control, and I am fully trusting in him. And I am going to take the ego and put it in the back seat,
Hmm.
and stop trying to control every outcome, when the reality is we are not really in control at the end of the day. And I always knew that, like when my mother-in-law passed away, it was one of those like, wait, what?
Right.
Like this is tragic and terrible. Why would
Right.
God do this? And it was one of those
Exactly.
things where it's like,
I get
your
that.
plan. And let me tell you, girl, my whole life plan, this is not it. Like, I did not have any of this planned. Like, I'm not kidding you when I say I was planning on being a single cat lady for the rest of my life. Like,
Hmm.
I did
Hmm.
not have it, and God had better plans for me.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you know what? My plan and God's plan have never aligned. Like, my
Right.
plan was down here, and God's plan is way up here.
Yep.
And if I just let go of the reins and just allow him to take control, like I mean, your life can only get better,
Right.
you know? And so
Right.
I just am in that place of full surrender, and it feels so good.
Yeah, it does
Like,
feel good. It does feel good. Like I really have found, the clarity of like having God at my back and in front of me, on the side of me, and my heart, because I always have been spiritual, and a lot of the audience knows, like, I put my knee down to God, because
mhm,
the word God was super weird because of how my mom portrayed what God was, and I just was like, I don't like that. But I didn't understand that I was taking away my relationship with him by that programming that I
mhm,
allowed myself to believe in.
yeah,
And it has just been a game changer. And, as stressful as, certain aspects of my life are right now, I'm like, well, it's not going to be like that forever.
mhm,
If I stress about it, it's not going to do anything.
yeah,
Like I just have to believe that God has a plan for me. And I know he has a plan for me. And that's the thing, like the future is already written.
yep,
As long as you believe, you take action through movement, you know, and you just work hard, and loving yourself through that process
yes,
is going to get you there. You know what I mean? You can't
yep,
just say, "Oh, God's going to take care of it." So that's how I grew up. My mom was like, "Oh, well, God's just going to take care of it." You know what I mean? And that's a lot of what happens in box religion. I like to call it box religion.
yeah, yeah.
Well, I'm just gonna, go to church, and everything will be taken care of. Like, bitch, it don't work like that. You know what I
You
mean?
gotta do something. And that was,
Right.
it's funny. I was just talking to one of my friends. I'm like, and the message I got from God, because me and my husband were trying, to get pregnant, and
Hmm.
it wasn't working, whatever. And I've seen my child, I've talked to my child, like I've like connected, right? But I went to church, and God told me, you've done as much as you can do. Now it's my time. Now it's my turn. Allow me to work.
Right.
And it really comes down to like, you guys are a team,
Right.
like you and God, you're a team. So yes, you need to still be working and doing what you can in this, in the human life, while God is working in the supernatural, and it's like, it's teamwork. And that's how I
Yeah.
feel like, you just build that super tight relationship. It's like husband and wife, like you build
Yeah.
that super tight relationship, and it's not just you're gonna do it all, okay, it's all on you. No, yes, he can work miracles and all that stuff, but you still got to
Right.
put in some work. You still have to
Yeah.
show him that you're willing to
Yes.
do the work. And when he puts something on your heart, you're willing to trust him and go
Yeah.
that direction, even when you're like, nah, no, that's not, that wasn't my plan. And he's like, well, cool, because it's mine. Now do it.
Exactly. It's
you
taking
know?
action of having the relationship. It's
Yes.
taking action of learning how to listen. And
Mm-hmm.
what is going on outside? I don't know. And learning how to see what's
Yes.
right in front of you. It's
Yeah.
there 24/7, and it's like, and I know some of you listeners are like, oh man, like I talk about God in a lot of my episodes, and it might be annoying for you guys. Well, I don't think it is, and if anything, start with believing in something that's bigger than you, and start with energy healing is what, she's
Yeah.
talking about, sitting with
And I mean,
yourself, all
and it
these
really
things,
comes, yeah,
feel it.
it just comes down to like acknowledging that there is something bigger than us. You
Absolutely.
know what I mean? Whatever you want to believe in,
Right.
it doesn't matter, but there's something bigger than us
Absolutely.
that is in control, and to allow yourself to have faith and surrender to that. And
Hmm.
I'm just building my relationship with God. Like, don't get me wrong,
Right.
I was not raised on church or Bible or any of that. Like
Right.
I'm just now like trying to figure out how to read the Bible,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
I'm there's days I sit down and read the Bible. I'm like, what did I just read? Like, what? I don't even know. And you like talk to people at church, they like read a passage and then they explain it. And I'm like,
Yeah.
how'd you get that out of that? Like, you know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah. We
it
can go
talks in
down that road
variables.
real,
Like,
real fast of how
yeah.
like, people interpret that is a whole thing. But anyways,
But
yes.
yes, it's like, it's so wild. So I'm just now building this relationship with God and allowing my trust in him and looking back and being like, you everything happened exactly the way it's supposed to happen
Yeah.
because he has a bigger plan,
Right.
bigger than I can even see. And I mean, that's why I just like right now, I'm like, you got it, dude. Like with us trying to get pregnant, like
Yeah.
I'm not even gonna try to sugarcoat it. Trying to get pregnant is really freaking hard when it doesn't just
Yeah.
happen,
Right.
and
Right.
I don't identify with infertility. I don't identify with PCOS or any of that. Like it's just
Right.
not the season, and God's really like showing me patience. I think we're in the
Mm-hmm.
season of learning patience.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I
And
get that.
and I like, I totally had a breakdown and I just had this like epiphany of I'm done controlling this. Like, and every little thing, I'm like checking my temperature and I'm like, okay, I'm ovulating. Okay, now we got to like get it in. And, it's gross. And so,
Well, that's I don't even know how to start with this, but I'm going to keep it just simple. It's like because behind the chair, I see this a lot. My friends have gone through it. They try to get pregnant, and then they don't get pregnant, and they go to the IVF or whatever the fuck it's called,
yeah.
and then it's just an obsessive thing, and then they stop. Right? I see this
Yep.
all the time. They stop and they're like, "Fuck it, I'm just going to live my life for now. I'm going to give my body a rest," and then they get pregnant. It's
And that's,
because
yeah.
they let go. They let go of just like this box way of thinking of I have to do this, I have to do this, like I have to be perfect, and nothing's perfect. Getting pregnant is not perfect. Nothing is perfect. We're not perfect. God's not even perfect, but he is perfect. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
we all have imperfections, but that's what makes us so beautiful. And when we understand that and let go of things, like things will happen in our body because it goes back to energy and how
Yeah.
our thoughts are fueling our energy and all these things. And that's the reality of everything. And like people don't understand that. That's all
Yeah.
it takes is to really just to let go. And that's what we're talking about is like that's when you want to let go to something bigger than you. And for me, it absolutely is God 100% because it allows me to just keep moving and keep putting one foot in front of the other. I have these plans, what I want in the future. Daniel and I were talking about this on a walk. He's like, what exactly do you want in the future? I'm like, I don't know. You know what I mean? I have some ideas, you know what those ideas are, but
Yeah.
honestly, I am just going to roll with what like God allows me to do, the energy that I feel, the intuition that comes from it.
Yep.
And
And
I was
be
like,
in the present moment.
absolutely. And he's like, I want to do this, 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 this. And I was like, yeah, I know that about you. And he's like, well, why can't you like get deep about this? And I was like, because honestly, like, I just feel like I am the type of person that is going to work my fucking ass off. I have a goal in mind. I have a vision in mind. I have a vision for us of what we're going to do. But at the same time, I also have to just roll with everything that happens and be present and know that like we are going to get there. I don't know what that looks like. You don't
Mm-hmm.
know what that looks like. Only God knows what that looks like. So if he knows what that looks like, then I'm good.
Yeah. And it's so true. And that's like the best mindset to have because like that's where I'm at. I was just telling my husband the other day, I'm like, babe, I have this like overwhelming feeling of just calmness and
Yeah.
I'm not stressing over money. I'm not stressing over where I'm going to go tomorrow or okay, I got to go like I'm always trying to think like next step, right? Because I mean, if you're an
Right.
entrepreneur, you work for yourself, like you kind of always have to have like a
Yep.
next step. You always
Yeah.
have to be like a few
Yeah.
steps ahead. And I'm genuinely in a place of I'm just being whatever comes my way in that day, like I'm here for it. And
Mhm.
obviously, I have plans and goals and whatever, but
For
I
sure.
truly feel like God is working on me and my husband right now and
Yeah.
for something really big.
Same.
And I know something is brewing. I just don't know what it is and what it looks like at all, but I feel
Yeah.
it. Like I
Yeah.
feel that deeper, I don't know, like I feel this like deeper, like
Mm-hmm.
fire turning on. I don't know.
Yeah.
Cause I've always just been
I
in that
love that.
hustle, go, go, go mindset.
Right.
And I'm finally able to sit back and be like, I'm just going to roll with the punches and be present.
Right.
It is the most amazing feeling. And my body feels calm.
Right.
My energy feels better. And I even told him, I was like, I'm taking a month off of even trying to get pregnant at this point. Like, I'm just going to like fully be free.
Yeah. Well, it's
It
like
feels so good.
all the things that you went through, you are in a place of peace,
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely.
and it's like, you guys might hear the story that, Julie is talking about, and it is really traumatizing. That shit is, I mean, but the thing is, it happens to a lot of people.
Yes.
Rape happens to a lot of people. Eating disorders happen to a lot of people. Feeling like you're a black sheep, feeling like you're alone happens to a lot of people. This is why I have this podcast, because you're not alone. But
Yes.
I'm sure you would say this. You don't take any of that like for granted. You have no regrets about all those things, because the harder the challenges are, the more you're going to grow. And you went through some difficult, extreme challenges, but they were
Mhm.
there for a reason, because you're like, well, I went through this, so I'm going to teach people how not to do that, but in a holistic way, in a
Yeah.
present way, in a higher being way. And how cool is that? Like, all those things that happened to you, if that didn't happen to you, who knows where you would be right now?
And that's true. And that's
Right?
where the deeper feeling of gratitude comes from. Like
Yeah.
going through everything I've gone through, I don't play victim. I am grateful that I've gone through everything I've gone through. Unfortunately, it had to be traumatic experiences because apparently I'm stubborn and but
Me
it
too,
like
girl.
it it had to be like a good, swift kick. But I even was able to fully forgive the guy that raped me. And that was after Lions Den Live last year, when I don't know, it was one of the stories, one of the speakers. Um, I came home and sat with myself and I wrote a letter to him.
Mm,
And I had like a different feeling about it. I wasn't angry. I wasn't upset with him. If it wasn't for going through that, if I didn't go through that, I wouldn't be the person I am today.
right.
And I truly believe everything happens for a reason.
Right.
And I have been able to fully forgive him. And it was something that I never knew I needed to do.
Right.
It was
Right.
something I never knew I
Right.
was holding on to, because it's a
Right.
lot of times we're holding that resentment and
Right.
not forgiving someone is just hindering us, the other
Oh,
person. They don't even know what's going on, right?
100%.
And
100%.
so the deepest part of healing is being able to forgive the person that hurt you.
Yes.
And
Yes.
forgiving the man that raped me was a huge shift in my healing journey.
Yeah.
And there's just something like very powerful
Hmm.
that comes with being able to do that. And Lions Den Live, after that, there was some, I don't know what it was. I can't remember exactly, but when I left there, I was like, I need to forgive this guy.
You know, you that's really funny, because it's not funny, but now I'm like having a flashback, because that was like, I just joined like a couple months prior to that.
Mm-hmm.
Number one, Garrett White's speech. He was
That
first
hit.
speech day one.
Yeah.
That was the night that I put my knee down to God in the hotel room. So it's
I love that. I just got
yeah, it's so beautiful that like you and and I know Travis had an experience. Like, I mean, you just Lions Den Live. I mean, just it's incredible. It's so powerful. Like being in a coaching group with Sean is so powerful. You know, doing stuff like this is so powerful. There's so many things that are so powerful that people don't even want to see because they're afraid.
Yeah,
Right.
it's true.
And I remember like, as you said that, I was like, I remember someone, I don't know who it was, I don't know who it was now either, because
Something
I was
hit,
like,
right?
I remember I remember like, I need to like fully forgive my mom. Right. And I
Mhm.
have like in the past that I forgive her, you know, like I forgive like the guy she's married to now, but like, have I really forgiven her? You know what I mean? Have
Yes.
really, really forgiven her. And it came over me that I had to tell her that. I had to tell her that I forgive her. Um, and, you know, eventually I did, you know, she didn't want
Mhm.
anything of it, but I was like, whatever, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it was a release for me. And now I'm always able to hold space and grace for my mom.
Yeah.
She will always have a place at my table as long as she wants to do her own work and her own journey to be here
Mhm.
and sit with me.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
And that's a boundary,
It is a
right?
boundary.
You
It's
know?
a huge boundary. And, you know, going back on your boundaries, like of your energetic bubbles and everything like that, because it's honoring who you are. And that is a part of self-love.
100%. And everything, the little seeds that we planted today is all about truly loving yourself.
Yeah.
Like looking in the mirror and loving the person that is looking back at you.
Right.
It takes a lot. And it took me years to be able to
Yeah.
look in the mirror and love myself. But
Mm-hmm.
everything I do now, today, like
Mm-hmm.
my workouts, I eat healthy, I nourish my body, you know, I speak love over people. Even I got my first hater and I was like, thank you. Like I am clearly a light. I am doing something right because you were talking crap about me. And I was kind of excited about it, you know?
Yep.
And
Yep.
because I love myself, I did it out of self-love. Like I didn't go and maliciously talk crap about her. I wasn't mean to her. I was like, I'm gonna pray for you and have a great day.
Absolutely.
And it
Absolutely. I wish
when you
the best for you.
yes, and when
I
you
wish
love
the best for you.
yourself,
Mm-hmm.
you don't need to go down to that level, right? Like
Exactly.
rise
Exactly.
higher.
Yeah. You are 100, 1,000, 5,000% right. You know what I mean? It's like this place that you can get to from like self-love, you know, I mean, that's why I opened the Freedom Den. So I don't even think I've announced it on my podcast, but you know, I launched my coaching group 2 weeks ago called the Freedom
Oh,
Den.
congratulations.
Thank you. You know, through this journey, like, I mean, if you would have ever asked me like, you know, a year and a half ago, if I would have a podcast, have a coaching group, that I would have coaches, that, you know, I was like, I love myself, but obviously I still needed more work to do. I would have thought you were fucking crazy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
Mhm.
through doing hair, I'm so passionate about the way people feel about themselves through their hair. Like being at Lions Den Live was like, what else can I do? And I launched my podcast 7 days later.
I
Right.
love that.
Because they talk about all the time, like you can have an idea and a dream. If you don't take action right away, or at least like one step of it, it's never
Yep.
going to happen. And
No.
that was huge for me. That was a huge lesson for me. And then it kind of tumbled in like, okay, well, what else can I do? Like, you know, Sean talks about like, if not you, then who? You know, like, yeah, there's a lot of different coaches out there. And I'm like, more the merrier. Look how many freaking
Yeah.
hairdressers there is. More the
Exactly.
merrier. You're spreading love, you're spreading art, you know,
And
and
there's someone out there that needs to hear a message from you
you
specifically.
absolutely,
That's how I feel
absolutely.
about it too.
And one of my, you know, clients in my coaching group, she asked me, well, how long did it take, Brittany, for you to love yourself? And I was like, well, I started recognizing it after I got out of my depression at 28 years old. I'll be 41 in November.
That's awesome.
It's a fucking journey, man.
But
It's
it's like, it's an everyday thing.
It's an everyday thing. It's consistency. And
Mhm.
it's putting one foot in front of the other. It's believing in God or believing whatever you want to believe in. And it's just like learning to let go, learning to forgive, learning about that part of your of self that you're going to love today
Mhm.
and the next day. And then you're going to learn to love that part of yourself. It does not happen overnight. And that's why so many people are struggling with mental health. They're
Yeah.
struggling with depression. They're struggling with wanting to kill themselves. They're struggling so much. Like, that's why, like, I am going to use my voice to help people, no matter, if I don't know as much as somebody else, I know what I know. And,
And someone needs to hear your story, just,
absolutely,
and I think that
absolutely,
it's the same way as I mean, even my husband, listening to Sean and being in the group, and he needed to hear, he's heard it all. He's heard it all. He needed to hear it from Sean.
right.
That was the only way it was going to penetrate through his brain.
It was the one
Sean was the only one
person,
that was going to be able to get that message through his thick head.
right?
And that's the truth, is everyone needs to hear a message through whoever they're called to hear it from.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
I think that's a huge step. And I mean, I'm still working through, like even my husband all the time, he's like, you need to create a group. You need to create a coaching group. And I'm like, okay.
You should. Dude, I would
know.
sign up right about, like, I love when I met Taryn Perry
Mhm.
through Lions Den Live. She was like the first nutritionist that I ever hired, but I hired her because she was a holistic nutritionist.
Yeah.
I didn't really understand. I knew that birth control was bad. I didn't know it was that bad. I didn't know that you eat differently on cycles. Do I eat differently on my cycle? No, because like I don't like, I meal prep and I do the same thing.
Yeah.
And if I like really sat down and looked at that, then it would probably be really interesting, because me, when I'm on my cycle, a lot of the times I feel very strong in my workouts, which is not supposed to be like that.
You
And
would be surprised.
yeah, it's
Actually.
weird. It's
So,
weird,
so sorry, I'm going to totally get like
That's
nerdy on
okay.
you.
Yeah, let's listen.
So your estrogen starts to rise. You can work out. So on your cycle, so probably like a day before your cycle and the day of your cycle is when your hormones are at the lowest. So that's
Yep.
probably when you're at your weakest, you're tired, you're kind of a little like
Yep.
a
Yep.
blob.
Yep.
But then on day 2 or day 3 of your period, your estrogen starts to rise. So you can go, and depending on how you feel, you can get a good workout in. Like, you're not going to harm anything. It's just the going into your cycle, the luteal phase, which is right before your cycle. That's when your energy starts to dip, because your progesterone is higher and your estrogen is lower. And so that's why your energy is a little bit lower. And so when you're on your period, if you feel up to it and you feel stronger, then that's amazing. That your estrogen it's starting to go on the upward, and then into the follicular ovulation when you're like the strongest.
So yeah,
and
it wasn't like that. It wasn't like that when I was on birth control. You know what I mean? Like because I really just started tapping into like the self-awareness of when I feel strong and when I don't. Mm-hmm. And I used to get so hard on myself, like, why am I not feeling strong? Like, what the hell, like, why am I not feeling it? You know what I mean? And like, you're totally right. It's like the couple days before and the day, but then I'm like, dang, I feel like real strong. I feel like I can kick anybody's ass. Like, what I mean? And so, it's just I bring that up because I want you guys to hear it again, that this is a thing for women. And I'm sure it is a thing for men too. And to like, ask questions. This is the thing, like the insurance companies today, doctors today, and I'm not saying all of them, but they're going to push you into pharmaceutical because that's what the government wants. That's a whole rabbit hole what we can go down to, but
they get a good commission check off that.
Ask questions.
Yeah.
Ask
And
questions. Like you know your body better than anybody. Like even when you talked about how your doctor's like, did you want to know? And they're like, of course they don't want to hear it.
no, yeah, they don't care. They're
They
like,
don't-
you didn't take my pills, you didn't take my expensive surgery. We don't care. Move along.
Exactly. And it's sad that we have to be on the healing journey ourselves when, we pay for insurance, we pay to go see these people, and then we don't even get answers.
Yeah.
And so, but at the same time, like you healed yourself from all those things. Like it's there, it's a possibility
And
if
it
you
just
just
comes down to
listen,
like truly being in tune with your body
right?
and finding someone that actually cares and wants to listen to you, that's why I do what I do, because
Absolutely.
I want to be that person that I didn't have when I was healing, because it was just me. Like
Right.
I mean, I had a practitioner, but it was like, I'll see you, here's your, like, it wasn't like that constant support.
Right.
In the like, okay, I'm taking my supplements and I feel this way, what do I do? Or what I'm, like, just along the way, it's just holding the client's hand along the way. And
Yeah.
I think that that's very
Beautiful.
important, especially
It
when it
is.
comes to healing your body naturally and taking control of your own health, being your own advocate. It is a big deal, especially nowadays. Like, a lot of people put so much trust into
Right.
another human,
Right.
which is a doctor, because they have a lab coat and they have a degree. You put your whole life, don't get me wrong, if your arm's cut off, yes, go to the doctor, put your whole life into their hands.
Well, of
But
course.
if you have like hormone imbalances or gut issues or whatever, like, you're going to go put your whole entire life in this random person's hand you don't know, really,
Mm-hmm.
just because they have a degree, and you're going to trust everything they say, even though it doesn't feel right to you, but you're going to say, okay, yeah, sure, let me take that and this. It's like mind blowing to me. It
Right.
just doesn't make sense. I'm like,
Right.
you know what's right and wrong. Like, you have discernment within yourself. Like,
The
you
intuition.
have that intuition. And it's like,
Mm-hmm.
if I didn't listen to my intuition, I would have one less ovary.
Probably.
Yeah. Like, I would
Yeah.
just be like, okay, do what you need to do. It's life
Right.
threatening. I might die. I was
Right.
like, I'll take that chance.
Right. And it's amazing that there's more women. I actually don't even know any male holistic doctors now that I think about it. I'm sure they're out there, but I think it's more women. And
Mhm.
like Taryn and like you and like even Azaria, she looks at a little bit things of more holistically of how she trains and everything like that. And it's just there's more of it coming out. And I
Yeah.
feel like women in the future are going to have more access to this than they do
Mhm.
now. And that's why we have to talk about it now to set up our future females. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
To
It's a
set
big
up our
deal.
future queens and to set up our future men, with their masculinity and everything like that. It's a whole cycle that's the reason why we're here, is to guide our children basically
Yeah.
in something that they get to utilize instead of somebody else telling them how to utilize and take care of their life.
Exactly. And I think it's just important to have also, like, especially if you're raising a little girl, right? If you have daughters, just
Yeah.
not so much as like do this, do that, but just be a role model, plant the
Right.
seeds. And,
Right.
I mean, with my daughter, she's my stepdaughter, so I don't have her 100% of the time. Believe me,
Right.
if I did, it'd be very different. But
Right.
I don't have her 100% of the time. So when I do
Right.
have her, I'm like, I give her beef organs. I give her whole food vitamin C. Like, I give her magnesium to go to sleep. Like, I'm like, okay, here, like, let me just give you all the nutrients and then send you away. And then when I get her
Yeah.
back, it's just about fueling their little bodies and
Yeah.
like love and showing them self-love.
Absolutely. That's that's another thing that like I'm excited to, like really be in Daniel's girls' lives because, I'm just someone else that can love them, like,
100%.
and I hope that comes into full fruition. Fruition? That's not the word. That's not a word.
Fruition,
I don't know. Anyways,
maybe? I don't know.
I just hope that I'm going to say blossoms into that because like I, don't want them on birth control. They're not my kids, you know what I mean? But I don't want them on birth control. I really don't like, and I hope I can be in their lives like that at those moments in the future.
100%.
And you know what I mean? I really hope that, and I know Daniel, wants that for his girls too, but he's also a man. He doesn't really understand all of that stuff. You know what I mean? But like 2 of his girls are, already on their periods, and they're 13 and 11. You know what I mean? You're like,
Yeah. I
so,
didn't even start until I was like 14.
right.
Like
Well,
girls are starting so young these days. I'm like,
guess what? It's because of what's in food, dude.
yep,
Like,
it's
that's a whole other thing. That's a whole other
yeah, we could talk another
we
hour and a
can.
half about that. Like,
yes, we can. And parents, just read your labels.
read
Just
the ingredients,
eat real
please.
food. Give your kids real food. They will be nicer.
Oh
They'll
my
be
God,
nicer to themselves. They will be, more pleasant to be around. They'll be better at school and their sports, like the list goes on. So we're just going to keep it simple right now, because I'm sure we can talk 2 hours about that, but just,
yeah.
Be a leader of your children and eat healthy, honor your temple so your kids can watch you doing that,
And
so,
that's really all it is, because they're such little sponges, like it's
they are
just being that role model and planting the seeds, and being a healthy human will breed healthy humans.
absolutely.
But
This has just been an amazing conversation. I knew it would be. I've been like so excited to talk to you, like since I talked to Travis, like, I was like, oh my God, I have to talk to her too. Like, I love holistic women. You know what I mean? Like, I love these approaches because it's so real. It's so a part of our energy and our makeup. And women need to know about this. And so I'm excited to share this, and take your power back. And I will put all of Julie's information, you guys, in the box below, like I always do. Please reach out to her if you are struggling with trauma of being raped in your past.
yes,
Trauma of any type of addiction, especially food addiction, obsession, and everything like that. Losing somebody. I've also been in that boat too, losing my dad, almost 16 years ago. And just, reach out to us. Like, and if we don't have the answer, we will find somebody with the answer. That's where we are here to guide you, to listen to this, guide you into us helping you or guiding you to get help from somebody else. Because we don't have all the answers, like, and that's the beauty of having friendships, having connections, and all these things. So don't be afraid to reach out. I know you guys are probably sick of me saying that, but please don't be afraid to reach out, So I always like to, end my conversations with like kind of going over everything that we talked about, what we just did. But, Julie, what are your top 3 or 5 things that you would tell somebody in your childhood, your childhood girl, you know what I mean, that you used to be, and that past of going through what you did? What are the top 5 things that you can tell somebody to get help, get out of that, and learn to love themselves?
So I would say, first and foremost, don't be scared of emotions that come up, and allow yourself to process them. 2, big one is learn how to set boundaries at a young age.
Ooh. That's a good one.
And love truly at a deep level, love your whole self. And just don't give a shit about what anybody thinks or says about you. Like, you are uniquely made exactly the way God wants you to be made. And you are beautiful. And tell yourself that every single day.
Every single day.
Every single day.
Yeah. And you guys write those things down, because those are actually extremely hard to learn. So it is, well, let's be honest, like, not caring what people think, learning boundaries. And Travis was the first person, it was at Saxony's women's event when they talked about boundaries. And then I went further, more deeper, and had these conversations with Anne, because I did not know I didn't understand what a boundary was, you guys, until last year.
I was the same.
Almost a year ago. You know what I mean? And I was like, oh my God. So if you, the 4 things that Julie said, if you want help getting access to how you do that, reach out to us, you know, and we'll give you our advice, or, you know, give our friend, you know, like, because they're pretty difficult in a good way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because once you do that, you will live a life of peace and freedom and fulfilling that love for yourself, because you don't give a shit about what other people think, because you put boundaries around yourself and, you know, doing and taking action on what she just said. So take it to heart, you guys. Like, you know, we're here for you. We love you. You are very beautiful in every single way.
Yes.
And Julie, thank you so much. I'm
You
so
were so
excited
welcome.
to launch this episode, and I hope every single woman in the entire world listens to it.
Me too.
Yeah. So thank you, Julie. Again, all of her information will be in the box below. I hope you guys have a fabulous Monday, and we'll see you next week. Take care.
Bye, guys. Thank you.
Bye.